In December of 1955, nearly 6 months after the kidnapping, murder, and subsequent trial revolving around the Negro youth, Emmett Till, and his accused killers, J.W. Milam and Roy Bryant, Jr., I sat down with the two men that had been hoisted on the shoulders of white supremacy and later shunned by those same friends and neighbors. I questioned the men, not as a journalistic source and not as interrogated witness, but as a Southern white man, the Southern white men. I knew they did it. That answer was brutally obvious. Well, this reporter wanted to understand, would Look magazine paid $4,000 to print, and would several million Americans plunk down 2 bits to read and gossip over ears? Why? This is William Bradford Huey of Look magazine. I'm here with J.W. Milam. Age?
36.
And Roy Bryant, Jr. Age?
24.
No fears, gentlemen. I'm only recording this so as to be clear of the facts. It's a tool I've come to find reliable in a pinch. Now, on last September, a jury found you both not guilty of murdering a Negro youth from Chicago named Emmett Till. Before the trial, y'all admitted to kidnapping the youth, but held no blame in his disappearance and consequent murder. You weren't even indicted for the abduction. Scot-free, clean as a whistle. Not a word has been uttered outside of a courtroom by you or your kin until now. Without your missing piece of this puzzle, hypocrisy and myth have flourished. Now, hypocrisy can be exposed, myth dispelled. J.W.?
Mr. Huey, our piece of Delta is a humid, skeeter-infested, dusty old corner of Mississippi. Now, if you leave here with one scrap of knowledge about us and our way of life, you put it down. That Monday, Mississippi, Greenwood, Mississippi, Mound Bayou, Mississippi shit. The whole of the Delta itself is just a loop strung together by Jesus, kinfolk, and heritage.
Heritage?
Mm-hmm. White heritage and colored heritage.
Roy? Carolyn, my wife, me, been married for about 4 years now. She's a good woman, an honest woman. She was living over in Indianola when we met, dropped out of school, moved here the money and married me. It might be a step up, maybe. At least we got a filling station and a post office. You know, we just simple folk. Too poor for an automobile, no room for a television. Outside of church on Wednesdays and Sundays, best we can do is a Saturday night drive-in picture show.
What's the best one you've seen?
Shane. Why don't you tell me about your grocery store? Like most seed and feed stores, you can get just about anything you want or need. Gets right crowded on collection days, what with being the only store that sells the colors. Farming tools and grains, oats and sacks of potatoes. We got a mess of hard candy and colors. Carolyn runs the front. Most days I keep up stock or make supply runs over to Texas for me or one of my brothers. That's where I was the day the boy come in the store. Done the talking. When I returned from my Texas supply run, the story had lit up the town like a grease fire. Colored folks who passed the story on to me. They said the boy from Chicago come talking big on Wednesday evening. Apparently his big talk didn't end at the storefront. Carolyn confessed, she was shaken by it, but had concluded that she and Juanita, J.W.'s wife, weren't gonna share the story. But by now it was too far gone and local whites were talking about me, whispering about me, right? Calling me coward, calling me fool. J.W. come by the store that Saturday. I told him I was gonna need his hands come Sunday morning. But I told him Sunday's the only day I can sleep in, Roy. How about noon? Noon 30. Then I took him around back and told him about the Chicago boy and his advances 3 days before.
How he touched Carolyn and spoke dirty while Nita and the children were just a few feet away in the back room? Then I told him I was gonna be here. Hell, I'd be here early. We was just gonna scare him real good, you know? Pistol whip some sense into him. I know we said we did, but we didn't even stop by the store for Carolyn to identify her. We knew we done roped the culprit. The way he held himself gave us proof positive.
How did he hold himself?
Like a crazy nigga. He wasn't afraid of us. He sat in the rear of that truck while we hunted around for the deepest, scariest gulch on the river. When we couldn't find one, we went up to my place in Glendora where I got a tool shed out back. Not sure why he ain't jump out. Maybe he's as crazy as me and Roy. They'd filled him so full of that poison, he was hopeless. You bastards, I ain't afraid of you. I'm as good as you are. I've had white women before. My grandmama was a white woman. Now, we whooped him good, to no end. But he kept making perfect little speeches, to ensure martyrdom. I mean, what else could we do? He was hopeless. Now, I'm no bully. I never heard a nigga in my life. I like niggas in their place. I know how to work them. I just decided it's time a few folk got put on notice. As long as I live and I can do something about it, niggas gonna stay in their place. Niggas ain't gonna vote where I live, because if they did, they control the government. Niggas ain't gonna go to school with my kids. And when a nigga gets close to mentioning sex with a white woman, he's tired of living. Because I'm likely to kill him. I mean, me and my folk fought for this country, and we got some rights. Now, I stood in that shed and listened to that nigga throw that poison at me. Chicago nigga, I said, I'm tired of him sending your kind down here to stir up trouble. Goddamn you, I'm gonna make an example of you, just so everybody can know how me and my folks stand.
Now, J.W. knew where there was no cotton gin fan, so we put the boy back in the truck and went to go get it. When we got there, it was starting to get light, and J.W. was getting worried about folks seeing us steal this old cotton gin fan. So we made the boy put it in the truck. I told the boy to take off his clothes. The boy took off his shirt, his pants, dropped his shorts, his shoes, and then he stood there, naked and smirking. I asked him, "You still as good as me?" He said, "Yeah." "You still had a white woman before?" He said, "Yeah." Then we tied that barbed wire around his neck, attached that old cotton gin fan, and we rolled him over in the river. Roy and J.W.'s confession to me prompted a backlash of disgust and admonishment. Once light had been shed on those early morning events, Mississippi now knew in its heart what it had hid from its conscience. In speaking to the men the following year, I found one glaring surprise. Because they were not convicted, because they were written up as heroes in Southern newspapers and editorials, because the friends and neighbors that once shunned them for being white trash now glad-handed and patted them on the back. Both men believed that those same friends and neighbors, the state of Mississippi, perhaps the entire South itself, approved of the murder. So many folk, even the most respected citizens, saluted and bear-hugged us after the trial. We figured they must have approved of the killing. But after they read the truth in your magazine, they all turned tail on us. Family stores closed, niggas boycotting. Had a lot of friends a year ago. They all contributed to my defense fund, at least they said they did. I got letters from all over the country congratulating me on my fine Americanism. But no more. Things are drying up on me. Even my crops. I kill them again. We got a heritage to protect. White heritage. I've taken up welding on the Army GI Bill of Rights. Moved myself and the family back over to Indianola, Carolyn's hometown. I get $100 a month from the Army. They say it takes a long time to learn welding. Once you learned it, you done ruined your eyes. Neither Roy nor J.W. can be retried. Both men bear the mark of Cain. Both men shall come to regard the early morning hours of August 28, 1955, as the most unfortunate of their lives.